Abrego Garcia, there is no proof that he was an MS-13 member. And it has been debunked many times.
It's been debunked
yes, it has.
Liberal newspapers.
That's not true.
Court of law.
She's arguing over if this guy that was deported is even a MS-13 gang member, that there's no proof. This is a conspiracy, of course, by Jessica Tarlov. We don't support conspiracy theories on this show, nor her gang member denialism. She's a denialist. Welcome to John Mike Keene as we watch Jessica Tarlov lose it because she wants this criminal MS-13 gang member. Even if he's not a gang member, by the way, he is an illegal alien here illegally, so he can go back home to El Salvador.
Section I-113 or 123 is reliable, verifiable proof that you were a member of a gang, and he was never able to rebut it.
It was based on double hearsay testimony and also a detective who was indicted merely weeks later for providing confidential information to a sex worker. He was also allegedly an alcoholic. That's how we got into this. But the point
Wait. Why would a man being an alcoholic I thought Democrats were for sex workers. So now if he's leaking stuff to a sex worker, he's not a reliable witness. Can we say that about all the Democrats? Because that would be, most of the entire Democrat Party, probably half of the Republicans too.
Is that this man has been living in this country out in public, meeting on an annual basis with his DHS caseworker. He goes in once a year. He talks to them. They know where he works. He's an on-the-books worker. This is not somebody who is a gangbanger. This is not somebody who has committed any other crime besides being here in this country. And he came here also based on credible threat of being murdered by a gang at home who was threatening his entire family. The reason that Democrats are talking about the fact that anyone could, quote unquote, be disappeared is that you can see a full-blown constitutional crisis playing out in front of our eyes. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that he had to be returned. President Bukhari is lying when he says that he can't get him back. We know that he can return people because he returned people from the original shipment. There were women that were sent there and he said, oh, no, you shouldn't be here. And there were some Venezuelans that he didn't want. He said, okay, you shouldn't be here. And he shipped them on back. They think that it's funny getting that hot mic moment where Donald Trump and the El Salvadorian president are talking. They're kind of loitering around at the front of the Oval Office where they're joking about like, oh, wouldn't it be great if you could take our homegrown ones? You cannot legally send Americans to an El Salvadorian prison camp, no matter what they have done. Senator Kennedy was on our air earlier this afternoon with Sandra and John.
We've sent our citizens overseas. I mean, if they're dual citizens, if they came from El Salvador for whatever reason, homegrown doesn't mean he doesn't mean anchor babies or people that are born here. He means that they were just grown here, like they're illegal and they came here and grew up.
And said as much.
Okay.
You look at, one more thing to say. Actually, multiple more things to say. But what is most important is that under the Alien Enemies Act, you deserve due process. And that's what the Supreme Court ruled. And if you go back to World War II, when we were invoking this same act, that people who were here undocumented from Japan, from Germany, from Italy, were allowed to go into a court where they could argue that they weren't a danger to this nation.
This is going to be adjudicated in our courts, by the way, because they haven't decided if you have a right to due process, even if you're not a citizen. Like usually constitutional rights, our Supreme Court judges based on if you're an American citizen or not. Do you have a right to due process if you're from another country? They haven't decided that. They haven't decided that on this case yet either. All they said was that Trump 9-0, they said that he has to facilitate if El Salvador wants to send him back, if they choose to send him back. They did not say that he must send him back and that he must be the one that pulls the trigger on saying, bring us this guy back. So he's in compliance with the Supreme Court by its loosest definition, and even CNN agrees with that.
Abrego Garcia was not afforded that right to come into court and to argue as to why he should not be deported. And it is not the same thing to deport someone to their home country as to send them to a prison.
Well, then
you know that.
First of all, The 9-0 decision by the Supreme Court held that the judge was wrong to think that she or he could enjoin the whole nation and dictate to a president international policy.
His return.
No. The facilitation, as the Attorney General herself said, was that if they decide to return him, no judge can tell the president you have to go into another country and pull a citizen of that country and bring him back here when he's illegal here in the first place.
Greg, is this a constitutional crisis?
You know, it's funny. I don't care. I honestly.
I'm with Greg Gutfeld on this one just a little bit. We've got a lot of problems in this country, guys. And, we've got a fiscal complete crisis. And I'm going to let Greg Gutfeld have the final say. I don't care. I'm John Mike King.